What do you want to develop as a habit, and what do you want to change in your life, and what do you think that you're missing, and what can you add to it? So I thought today would be a good time to talk about habits, developing healthy habits, and also a bit about goals more generally. You might have some New Year's resolutions that you've decided to do, that you've been keeping up, or maybe that you've not been keeping up. We'll talk a little bit about New Year's resolutions and why there's something good in them, but why there are lots of problems with them. Some people love New Year's resolutions, some people hate them. I kind of have mixed feelings. I think that they're a good idea, but also they have lots of problems with them. I have made a couple this year, one of which is running. Now, February might... I can't run and talk. Now you might be thinking, why are you talking about New Year's resolutions in February? But that's exactly the wrong mindset. That now is always the right time to be talking about resolutions. Now, as in, it can be February, you might be watching this in June, it might be coming up to New Year, but now is the time. New Year's kind of meaningless. What's special about a calendar turning? Well, nothing. Some people use it as a bit of a trigger, and that's absolutely fine if you find that that's going to help to add to your motivation to make the changes that you want to make. Brilliant. But for most people, it's not. For most people, finding that motivation elsewhere is what's important, and motivation is exactly the thing we need to be talking about. I've recently decided I need to run more. Why have I decided I need to run more? Well, it's because I want to be a bit healthier, I want to be fitter, and I quite like running. That's why I've decided that I'm going to run. Don't underestimate how important that is, because if I'd said, well, I want to get fitter, so I'll go to the gym, I wouldn't do it, because I don't like going to the gym, because being inside in that stuffy environment just doesn't appeal to me. Some people love it, and if you love going to the gym, brilliant, make that your thing. But if you don't really want to go to the gym, you're not going to do it. In all honesty, I've been running kind of on and off for a few years now, and I didn't really like it at first. It's something that kind of just took a bit of time. But the fact is, I quite like being out when it's kind of sunny, even if it is a bit overcast and horrible. Today's actually become quite nice now. Ooh, friendly dog. Hello. Point is, it's a nice day, even that dog likes to be outside, so it kind of gives me that impetus, that get up and go, to actually go and do it. And even if it's not such a nice day, then I quite like just being outside blowing off the cobwebs. And in a related sense, it's worth thinking about barriers, so what kind of things stop you. For example, going to the gym, you've got to actually get up and go to the gym. With running, all I have to do is put on my shoes and my running stuff and get out the door and run. It's a much lower barrier. In fairness, the actual barrier is what the weather's like, and if it's dark and horrible. I don't mind going for a run when it's rainy and a bit grizzly, but I don't really like going in the dark. So that's a bit of an issue for me. So thinking about what you can do to overcome those barriers. Think, well, when is it going to be able to fit it into my day when it's light? So for example, there's a shower at work. I've started running to and from work. It's brilliant. It's really helped me fit it into my day and manage it, because there is only so much time in the day, and you're not going to do it if you can't figure out how to fit that time in. So if you can link it with something that you'll be doing anyway, then you can save that time and you can fit it into your day. It's about developing habits, and habits are really, really important. And the best way to develop a habit is to figure out how to fit it into your routine. Whether that's your daily routine, something you do every day, could be getting up, could be brushing your teeth, could be going to work, or whether that's something that, you know, fits into your week. You might say do something on a Thursday, and every Thursday that's your time at 8 o'clock or whenever that you do your thing. And figuring out how to develop that habit is important, and it's going to make a massive difference. The final thing that I think is just worth mentioning is how I mentally link the two in terms of habits and motivation. And sometimes I don't feel like getting up and going for a run, and in all honesty, it's easy to not do it, because if I don't go for a run once, it's not going to make any difference to my life. But it's very easy for that once to become twice, to become 3 times, and so on and so on and so on. And I always think, well, what's going to be different in future? And not just what do I want to do, but what kind of person do I want to be? Because ultimately we're kind of defined by our actions to some degree. So it really helps me not just think, do I want to go for a run, but do I want to be the kind of person that goes for a run in this situation? Do I want to be the kind of person that actually gets up and does stuff and goes out when I'm feeling a little bit tired, when I'm feeling a little bit fed up? Do I want to be someone that gets up and does things, or do I want to be someone that just sits and eats crisps and watches telly, or whatever it is? And that is something that does motivate me. The most obvious example of that would be something like smoking. Smoking one cigarette doesn't make you a smoker. Smoking 2 cigarettes doesn't make you a smoker. But so on and so on and so on, and eventually you become a smoker. Likewise, when you want to give up, if you haven't smoked a cigarette for 5 minutes and you said, I've quit smoking, that doesn't make you a non-smoker. But eventually, after however long of not having a cigarette, then you are no longer a smoker. You are a non-smoker or an ex-smoker. And I think the same principle is true of pretty much anything. And there's something in this that harks back to an ancient Greek idea of virtue ethics. Aristotle was a big fan of virtue ethics. He spoke a lot about it. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk too much about Aristotle, but the point is it's an ancient Greek thing. And the idea was that we should cultivate our own virtues, and that we should strive to become virtuous people, and that doesn't happen overnight. And one action doesn't define you as a virtuous person or a vicious person or whatever, but cultivating those virtues through our actions are important. So, for example, we should aim to be kind, but not servile. Don't bend over backwards for it. We should be ambitious and motivated, but not ruthless in it, and so on and so on and so on. Any positive characteristic, you can think that if it's taken the wrong way or to an extreme, then it can become something quite negative. And we should try and foster that balance within ourselves of positive attributes. And that is different from, when I say being defined by your actions, you're not defined by your actions there, you're defined by your virtues and what's internal. But the thing that makes you virtuous or otherwise is your tendency to do certain actions. So it's different in where the actual value lies. The virtue ethicist, the virtuous person, says that the value lies in the virtuous person rather than the action, but the virtuous person is only going to become the virtuous person, and we're only going to know the virtuous person through their virtuous actions. So there is some interplay there. Virtue might sound like a bit of a highfalutin way of putting it. It is meant as an ethical thing. Don't worry about that too much. I think that we can sometimes, when we talk about this kind of thing, put it in the language of ethics, and sometimes it even drifts into the idea of like duty to ourselves and duty of self-improvement. And that's a load of rubbish, because at the end of the day, if you just want to sit and eat toast and watch TV with your life, I mean, it's not going to be a particularly healthy life, but fine, you do that. I don't think that you have a duty to yourself to not do that. You might have a duty to other people if you have people that are dependent on you and so on, that sort of thing. But it's not about, but you probably do want more out of your life. And if you do, then you should push to do that. And I find that remembering the link between an individual action and the person that you are, your identity, is important. There's a lot to be said about that. There's a lot to be said about identity. But I think that's more than enough for today, isn't it? So, hopefully you found today's video interesting. A little bit about goals and habits and how to try and foster healthy habits within yourself. Let me know down below if you've made any New Year's resolutions, if you've kept them up, or if any of this is kind of useful to give you a little bit of food for thought, a little bit of perspective on any healthy habits that you might want to try and develop. If you like the video, do like the video. Remember, subscribe, ring the bell if you want notifications when I'm releasing these videos. I will be releasing these videos hopefully every Monday on Medical Mondays, because everything's better when it alliterates, and share the links because that's the only way people get to see these videos. So anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.